Hey everyone, it's Jen B, and welcome to my studio. In today's video, I'm going to be walking you through the process and showing you step by step how to convert clip-on earrings to post earrings. So let's get to work. Okay, the first thing that I need to do is to remove the portion of the clip-on earring that is not soldered down. So I'm just using some pliers to apply some tension to those clips, and they pop right out of the portion that is soldered down. Next, I will be removing that portion that is soldered down. So over at the soldering area, I'm getting my torch ready, heating up the piece, spraying it with flux. Once that is done, I get some tweezers in my hand, and I am looking for the shimmer of solder around that portion. And once I see that shimmer, I use my tweezers to just pull it away. I'll show you that a second time with the other earring, getting it up to temperature, spraying it with flux. And then once the solder is flowing, I pull it away with my tweezers. Oh, not ready yet. Here we go. And you can see here the little bit of left on solder, so we need to pickle and then take care of that solder. I'm using a silicone grinding wheel to remove that solder. And then I do just continue using that same wheel to smooth out and polish up the back of the earring. And once that's all finished up, I'm going to work on getting the ear wires ready. I use 20 gauge round wire for my ear posts, so I've just cut some lengths and I am smoothing out one end. You can see I've got 4 pieces cut here because I'm actually working on 2 different pairs of earrings. And then I'm going to use a ball burr to create a little divot right where I want the ear post to sit. So I've figured out where on the back of the earring I want the ear post, and I'm creating a divot just a little bit bigger than the 20 gauge ear post. I'm checking here to see that it fits. It does. So I'll move on to the other earring, and we'll create a little divot for the second earring. Next is attaching the ear post into that little divot. So I've got the ear post held in a third hand, and I've got the end of it sitting right in the divot that I created with the ball burr. And I'll start to heat it up and get it ready with the flux. If you look over at the charcoal block, you can see 2 very tiny pieces of solder. These solder chips are really about the same size as the divot. They are tiny. I don't want to use anything bigger because it will just flood the entire area with solder. So this size solder is just enough to fill the divot and to solder down the ear post. I've zoomed in really close and you can see sort of that tiny piece of solder right next to the ear post. I'm heating everything up, being mindful not to melt the ear post because it's much thinner than the rest of the earring. The solder flowed right into that divot and created a perfect join. So let's see it one more time with the other ear post, adding a tiny little piece of solder right next to the ear post and just doing the same thing. heating everything up until the solder flows right into that divot. There it goes. Absolutely perfect. Then it's time to give everything a polish. I didn't work too hard at taking out all of the scratches. Both of the earrings that I was working on were older earrings, and I didn't really want to take away all of the age from those pieces because I think that's part of the charm of wearing older jewelry. So I am just polishing it up and brightening and taking out any really deep scratches. Then on to cutting the ear posts the length that I want them. I have seen ear posts cut anywhere from 9.5 millimeters to 12 millimeters. I personally make my ear posts 11 millimeters, so I'm just using a ruler and a marker to mark off 11 millimeters, and that is right where I will cut off the ear posts. So I'm cutting off the ear posts with a pair of flush cutters. Again, I was working on 2 different pairs of earrings. Once I've cut the ear posts to size, then I need to work harden the ear posts. Since I'm done heating up the metal, it's now time to really make sure that those posts are work hardened so they won't bend when you put them into the ears. So I'm just twisting them in opposite directions with a pair of pliers and then testing out the strength of the ear wires. After that, I'm going to work on getting the end of the ear wire nice and smooth so that it doesn't catch and poke as it's getting put into the ear. So I'm using a cup burr here to round out the end of each ear wire, testing how it feels, and then I use a nail buffer to go over it and smooth it out a little bit more. I couldn't find my nail buffer in this clip. Oh, there it is, just spotted it. And unfortunately, this ear wire was not work hardened enough, so as I was buffing the end of that ear wire, it did get bent. So I have to go back in with my pliers and straighten it, and then work harden it some more. And then comes the last part of working on the ear wire, which is creating a little groove for the ear backs to sit into. If that little groove is not on the ear wire, the ear backs can just slide right off. So I like to put a little groove in the ear wire by using the tips of my round nose pliers and just squeezing while I am spinning the earring, and that creates a little groove. Okay, everything is looking great, and here are the finished earrings. I gave them a quick patina and then used a pro polish pad just to polish up the high points of the earrings. They turned out perfect, in my opinion. And then here is a look at the second pair of earrings that I was working on. Beautiful pair of dangle earrings that were clip backs, and now they are post earrings. Thank you so much for joining me for this video. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.